Look at the light right now, the afternoon sun coming in low through the window, that one slanting beam, and in it, do you see them? The little specks, drifting, turning, never quite landing. There must be thousands of them in that one shaft of light. And here is the thing that always stops me. That shelf they are drifting down onto, the one by the window. I wiped it this morning. Clean cloth, careful hands, the whole thing. And by this afternoon, there it is again. A soft gray film you can write your name in, so you wipe it again tomorrow and the day after. And you start to wonder, quietly, whether your home is just dusty by nature, whether some houses simply are. I want to tell you something this evening. They are not. And the reason yours keeps filling back up has almost nothing to do with how often you clean. My name is Maya Sato. I am 58 years old, and I keep an old house, wooden, a little drafty, tatami in 2 rooms, shoji screens that my husband always said, let the cold straight in. I have not bought a bottle of dusting spray or one of those disposable cloths that come in a plastic tub in something close to 30 years. Not because I am stubborn, though my daughter would tell you I am. Because I was raised in my grandmother's farmhouse in the mountains of Nagano, where you did not buy what the house and your 2 hands could already give you. And my Obachan kept that old wooden house cleaner than most new ones I walk into today, with nothing, almost nothing. So, let me show you how she did it. Here is what I am going to give you tonight. Not one trick. A handful of old habits. The way a Japanese home is actually run. That, put together, keep the dust from ever piling up the way it does now, where it really comes from first. Then how we stop it at the door, how we move the air, how we sweep so the dust stays down instead of flying up, how we treat the surfaces, the floors, the bedding, small things. None of it costs more than what you already have under the sink. And I will tell you honestly at the end what it does and what it does not do, because I am not going to pretend it is magic. But stay with me all the way through, because there is one part, near the end, that the people who sell you cleaning things would much rather you never sat still long enough to hear. It is the reason your house never feels finished. We will get there. Now. Before any habit, you have to understand one thing, and almost everybody has it backwards. We think of dust as something the house makes, something that grows on the shelf, the way mold grows in a damp corner. So we fight it on the shelf. We wipe, we spray, we wipe again. But most of the dust in your home did not start in your home. It walked in, on the bottoms of your shoes, in the weave of your coat, in the air that comes through an open window on the wrong afternoon. Soil from outside, pollen, the fine grit off the road, skin and fiber and the 1,000 small things the outdoors carries. A great deal of it, most of it, comes from out there, which changes everything. Because if the dust is mostly arriving, then wiping your coffee table is like bailing a boat without looking for the hole. You can bail all day, so the old way, the way my Obachan ran her house, the way Japanese homes are still built and lived in, does not start at the shelf. It starts at the edges, at the threshold, at the windows, at the door. You win this at the borders before the dust ever reaches the room. Let me show you the borders. The first one, and the most important, the one thing if you do nothing else, is the door. In Japan, we have what is called the genkan. It is the sunken entry just inside the front door, lower than the rest of the floor, and there is a simple, absolute rule about it that every child learns before they can really talk. The shoes come off there. You step out of your outdoor shoes in the genkan. You step up into the house in bare feet or house slippers, and your outdoor shoes, with everything they have walked through, the street, the station, the garden, never, ever touch the floor you live on. That is the whole thing. It sounds almost too small to matter. It is the single biggest difference between a house that stays clean and one that does not. Think of where your shoes have been today. Now think of walking that, all of it, across your bedroom carpet. Most homes do exactly that every day, and then wonder at the gray film. Keep a mat or a low shelf by your door. Make it the rule, gently, for everyone, guests too. And yes, I know that is hard in some countries, but a basket of clean slippers by the door does a lot of persuading. My Obachan kept a worn pair of slippers there for anyone who came up the lane. Outdoor stays at the door. Inside stays inside. The dust never gets past the line. Now, the air. Even with the shoes off, dust rides in on the wind, and most people open their windows at exactly the wrong moment and for the wrong reasons. Here is the old way, and it is simple. You open opposite sides of the house at once, a window on one side, a window or door on the other. So the air does not just sit and stir, it moves straight through and carries the indoor dust out with it. One open window is a stuffy room. Two facing each other is a river, and you choose your moment. The calm, still air of early morning is your friend. Open it all up. Let the house breathe. Let the night settled dust ride out on a quiet current. But on a dry, windy afternoon, when the gusts are kicking grit up off the road and the fields, you keep them shut. That wind is not bringing you fresh air. It is delivering a truckload of outdoor dust right into your front room. I learned this the hard way one spring. Flung everything open on a bright, windy day because it felt so good. And by evening, my low table had a gritty film I could feel under my fingers. So, mornings and still evenings, open wide, dry and windy, close up and wait. And once a week, take a dry brush. An old paintbrush is perfect, and sweep out the window screens, because a screen clogged with grime does not just stop bugs. It chokes the very airflow you are relying on. So the shoes are off, and the air is moving. Now the floor, and this is where I see people undo all their good work in one stroke. They take a dry broom to a dusty floor, and they push. And a dry broom on a dry floor is not a cleaning tool. It is a launcher. You sweep, and a great cloud of the finest dust lifts up off the bristles into the air, floats about for an hour or two, and settles right back down on everything, including the floor you just swept. You did not remove it. You sent it on a little holiday and welcomed it home. The old fix is beautiful, and it costs nothing. You dampen things first. My grandmother's way, and it is a real old Japanese habit, was to scatter the used damp leaves from the morning's green tea across the wooden floor before sweeping. Chagara, we call it, the spent tea. The moist leaves roll ahead of the broom and gather the fine dust to themselves, hold it down, weigh it, so instead of flying up, it comes along quietly in a little damp pile you sweep straight out the door. No tea? Then just dampen the broom bristles themselves. A quick dip in a shallow pan of water, shaken off so they are barely moist, not wet enough to streak. Same principle. The damp fibers catch and keep the dust instead of throwing it into the air. One pass, and it is gone. Truly gone, not circling overhead waiting to land. Now the surfaces, the shelves, the sills, the wood, And there are two motions, and the order matters. The first is mizubuki, the damp wipe, not a dry cloth. A dry cloth on a dusty shelf does the same thing the dry broom does to the floor. It lifts the dust and scatters it, half of it floating off to land somewhere else. A cloth wrung out until it is barely damp, almost dry to the touch, catches the dust and holds it. You wipe, the dust comes away with the cloth, and it does not come back. If a surface is a little greasy or grubby, a splash of vinegar in the water cuts it gently. But here is the warning, and please hear it. Barely damp. You are catching dust, not mopping. Too wet on bare wood, and you will leave a pale water ring that breaks your heart. And I say that as a woman who ruined a good little side table doing exactly that, in a hurry not wringing the cloth properly. So, damp then, and this is the part most people skip. Karabuki, the dry buff. You go over the wood again with a clean, dry, soft cloth, buffing in small circles, and two things happen. You take up the last of the moisture so no ring forms, and over time you bring the wood to a smooth, soft sheen. And a smooth surface does not hold dust the way a rough or sticky one does. The dust has nothing to grip, so it settles lighter and wipes off easier the next time. Once or twice a year, a little beeswax worked in thin and buffed out will fill the fine scratches and keep it smoother still. Honestly, though, the damp wipe and the dry buff, those two cloths, are most of it. And then the soft things, where dust really hides, and where the Japanese home is built completely differently from a Western one. And I will tell you a thing about my grandmother here, so stay with me. We do not, in the old houses, lay wall-to-wall carpet, tatami and bare wood mostly. And the reason is exactly dust. A carpet is a sponge. A single patch of it can hold a startling amount of dust deep down in the pile, far below where any vacuum reaches. The machine pulls the top, and the rest just sits there, with the mites and the rest of it, year after year. A hard floor you can wipe down to nothing. There is nowhere for the dust to hide. Where we do want softness or warmth, we use small woven mats and cloths that we can carry outside and wash. Not a great fixed carpet you could never lift. And we do not shake them out the door where the cloud just settles back near the house. We hang them on a line outside and beat them so the dust is knocked away from the home entirely. And the bedding, this is the memory. In Nagano, on the first clear, dry morning after the rains, the whole lane would do it together, almost without speaking. My Oba-chan would haul the heavy futon out into the yard and lay them over the bamboo pole between the two posts, and they would soak up the sun all morning, and the damp and the dust and the staleness would just lift out of them in the warm air. And in the afternoon, this is the sound I still hear, up and down the whole valley, that flat rhythmic patter, paff, 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 every grandmother out with her futon tataki, the little woven beater, knocking the dust out of the bedding. Not hard, mind you. She would scold me when I went at it like a drum. You brush the dust off and air it, she said. You do not punish it. And then at dusk, you bring it in, and you sleep under cotton that smells of the sun, with the dust beaten out of it into the open air. That is futon hoshi. Sun and air do the work for nothing at all. Now, when you do go around with the cloth and the duster, there is an order, and it is the same order we use for the osoji, the big year-end cleaning. You start at the top, and you work down. Always. Dust obeys gravity. It falls. So if you clean the shelf first and the high places after, everything you knock loose from above comes raining down onto the shelf you just finished, and you do it all twice. So you begin high, the tops of the door frames, the lintels, the high edges nobody looks at but where the dust lies thick, with a long, soft wool duster, because wool and soft cloth hold the dust, while those stiff feather dusters mostly just flick it back into the air. Then down to the sills, the furniture, and the floor dead last, because the floor catches everything that fell on the way down. And the ceiling fan, if you have one, here is a small clever thing. Slide an old pillowcase right over each blade. Then pull it back off slowly, and all the gray fur on top of that blade stays trapped inside the case, instead of snowing down onto your head and your whole clean room. And the last habit is the quietest, and it is really a way of living. Fewer things. Walk into an old Japanese room, and the first thing you feel is the space. The bare tatami, the one scroll, a single flower, almost nothing on the surfaces, and that is not only for beauty. Every object you own is a little landscape for dust. The top of it, the sides, the base, the shelf beneath it. Every ornament is 5 more surfaces to settle on and to wipe. A mantle crowded with 20 trinkets is 20 small dusting jobs. A mantle with 1 clock is 1 easy pass of the cloth. And what we do keep, we keep behind closed doors, in the tansu, the chest, in cupboards behind the sliding fusuma, not out on open shelves where the air can reach it. Closed storage is dust's enemy. So before you buy one more clever tool to fight the dust, look around and ask gently, how much of this do I truly need out where I have to clean around it? Everything you put away is a surface you never dust again. So, let me tell you honestly what all of this does and what it does not do, because I will not sell you a miracle. It will not make your home perfectly dust-free. Nothing will. Dust is partly just us, our own skin and hair and the fibers of our own clothes, and it never fully stops. You will still clean. What these habits do is change the amount dramatically, and how long clean stays clean. From a daily losing battle to a calm, light, weekly rhythm. And a fair word for some of you. If you have real allergies or asthma, these old ways help. The shoes off and the hard floors and the damp wiping especially. But they are not a treatment, and you should still listen to your doctor and may want a proper filter as well. On the doing of it, the warnings are small, and I have said them. Wring the cloth nearly dry on bare wood every time, or you will mark it. Test a little beeswax on a hidden corner first. Be gentle airing your bedding, and open the windows with scents. If it is high pollen season and your nose pays for fresh air, that is a warning to keep them shut. Honest limits. They are how you know I am not lying to you about the rest. Now here is the part I asked you to wait for. None of what I have shown you costs anything. Shoes at the door, free. Opening 2 windows, free. A damp cloth, a dry cloth, sunlight, a beaten mat, an empty shelf. Free, free, free. And that, quietly, is the whole problem. For them. Because there is an entire industry built on the dust in your home, and not one part of it makes a single yen when you simply take your shoes off at the door. The spray that promises to lock the dust and only leaves a sticky film that catches more. The disposable cloths in the plastic tub that you throw away and buy again and again. The scented polishes, the machines, the purifiers humming in the corner. They are not evil, but they would much rather sell you a tool to fight the dust on your coffee table than tell you the simple truth that most of the dust is walking in your front door, because there is no profit in a habit and no refill to sell for a rule about shoes. This knowledge was ordinary once. Every grandmother had it. And then, slowly, it became more profitable for all of us to forget it and buy the bright bottle instead. That is the real reason your house never feels finished. Not because you do not clean enough, because you were quietly taught to fight the battle in the wrong room. I am just handing the old knowledge back. So here is your week, simply. Shoes off at the door, starting tonight. Make it the rule. Open opposite windows in the calm morning. Shut them on the dry, windy afternoon. Dampen the broom or the cloth before you sweep or wipe. Never dry. Top to bottom, always. And pick one crowded surface and clear it. That is enough to feel the difference within a week, I promise you. Then do something for me. Tell me down in the comments where you live and what your home struggles with most. The damp, the dust, the cold, the smell that will not leave. Tell me about your house. I read every single one, and I answer the ones I can. And since we have talked tonight about keeping things dry and aired, next time I am going to show you what my Oba-chan did to keep the closets and chests from going musty and damp all the way through the rainy season. The old tricks for Tsuyu, when the whole house wants to grow mold and you have to outwit it. Bring your damp corners. Until then, waste nothing. Take good care of your home, and it will take good care of you.